It was a rainy night and someone could be seen cursing the heavens. At this moment a huge bolt of lightning struck the person. You damned yuck, someone repeatedly called a boy and brought him out of his thoughts. There were 3 people sitting in front of the well-dressed boy. It looked like they were taking an interview of him. One of the men asked, "You damned yuck, how would you purify water?" The boy smiled and said, "I would use a special purifying machine from the government." Another interviewer asked a question, "What is your motive behind applying for this company?" The boy smiled and said, "That's because," but before he could complete his sentence, the interviewer cut him off and mockingly said, "Looking at your resume, you seem to have no talent. Just be honest and tell me, don't you think this is embarrassing?" The boy was shocked hearing this and blurted out, "Excuse me?" The interviewer in an arrogant voice said, "If you have no talent then, why are you applying to a big corporation like this one?" The boy questioned, "Then why did you put up, 'Help the Wanted' ad?" The interviewer laughed and said, "That's because of the Talentless Discrimination Act." Reality is very different. The boy you damned yuck clenched his fists and thought. Again with that talent nonsense. After the existence of dungeons was revealed, hidden abilities within people surfaced. People called this talent. Due to this, civilization developed rapidly. Some called the revelation of talent to be a blessing to humanity, and I believed that as well, until I found out that I had no talent. The interviewer coldly spoke. Our company operates for profits. We have no use for talentless people like you. The other interviewer said, "Even if you are talentless, you should at least have some confidence." The boy sighed and his face went from being nervous to extremely calm. He then spoke. "You do realize that you are saying something discriminatory against talentless people, right?" The interviewer became a bit flustered and asked, "What are you saying?" The boy continued, "Then why did you, an interviewer, speak like that?" The man became enraged and shouted, "Did I say something wrong? We are tired of people like you. Did you think being talentless is a government job? How dare you talk to an interviewer like that?" The 3 interviewer got up and shouted, "Where did you learn to conduct yourself so poorly?" The boy then asked in a cold voice, "Is expecting proper treatment conducting myself poorly?" The boy's eyes became cold as he said, "Now apologize." All 3 men laughed and one of them spoke. "Shouldn't it be the other way round? Shouldn't you, the one who wasted our precious time, apologize?" The boy slowly stood up and asked, "So you are saying you won't apologize?" One of the interviewers spoke, "Now, get out of here." At this moment the boy did something which made all the 3 people shocked. He took out the hidden microphone and said calmly, "Our entire conversation has been recorded." The boy smirked and said, "It was definitely a discriminatory statement against talentless people, and you also admit to post a false recruitment ad?" The interviewer became flustered and said, "I was just trying to joke and lighten the mood." The boy got up from his chair and headed outside. The 3 men were so scared that they ran towards him while apologizing. But the boy didn't stop. When he finally reached the gate, he turned around and coldly said, "The things you said earlier, let's see if you can say them before the Human Rights Committee." The 3 men stood there with a stupefied expression. After the boy came out of the office, he cursed those people and finally submitted this recording to the Human Rights Committee. As he was walking down the road, he mumbled, "Talent is a blessing to humanity, that is pure nonsense." At this moment he heard a sound and looked down, only to be surprised by a gum stuck on the sole of his shoes. He became angry and tried to remove the gum from his shoes, but at this moment a huge splash of water came on his face and body. The gardener was embarrassed and hurriedly apologized. The boy looked at the sky and sarcastically spoke, "What a wonderful day it is." It was evening when he reached his home, which was in an old building. Someone had puked on his window, dirtying the wall below. The boy picked up a cloth and cursed as he cleaned the wall. Those drunk idiots did it once again. He picked up his ringing phone and immediately his face bloomed. He said, "Yes, Mom, I had already had my lunch. What about you? Was the hospital food okay?" A worried voice came from the other side. "You are going through so much because of me. If we just pay back the money your uncle borrowed?" But before his mother could complete her sentence, he shouted in an angry tone, "I told you never to talk about that man." The woman sighed and spoke, "But still, he's you, uncle. You can't speak like that." The boy continued in an angry tone, "If that guy was the type to pay it back, he would have done so already. He probably already went abroad." The boy sighed and apologized. "Sorry, Mom, for raising my voice." He immediately spoke in a happy tone. "Don't worry, you know your son has good education and standards. I do well in society. Don't worry about the hospital bills and take good care of your body. I have been doing well. I will call you another time." The boy hung up the call. After a while, he went on to the rooftop of the building and took out a packet of cigarettes. As he slowly lit up the lighter, he mumbled, "This is the only thing to cheer me up." But before he could light it up, rain started pouring, extinguishing the flame and making him wet. That was enough to make his anger explode. He threw the lighter on the floor and shouted towards the heavens, "You should at least allow me this much. I have lived hard. Why do you keep hindering me? To be honest, I don't care if God existed or not. You have never helped me." The boy continued shouting, "I don't want to live like this. It isn't my fault. Someone has to take responsibility." This rage of the boy was directed towards the gods. Was that the reason why the heavens sent out lightning? The boy didn't get flustered seeing this. Instead, he with an angry expression shouted even more, but the lightning, which was about to fall somewhere else, fell directly on him. As the boy's consciousness was fading, he cursed his luck and his whole life, and now that he was dying, he thought about his only regret: what would happen to Mom? Time passed. After a while, the boy slowly opened his eyes. What greeted him was not the thunderstorm, instead a bright blue sky. As he laid on the cold floor, he was a bit surprised. Was he alive, even after all that? As he slowly got up, he saw something that gave him shock all over his body. A screen was floating in front of him with the words, "Hiring notice," and when he read the complete message, he was stunned. Time passed and soon it was evening. The boy sat in his room with a shocked expression. There were many questions revolving inside his head. Did God truly exist? After swearing at God, whom I never denied nor accepted the existence of, I got hit by lightning. Is this what they call heaven's judgment? When people get hit by lightning, they mostly just die, but there isn't a single scratch on my body. If I were to look at the differences, then it is the message that is floating above my head. The boy continued staring at Thea and thought, "What is that thing? It looks like the status window that the people with a talent see." All of a sudden he became shocked. Was the lightning perhaps his talent? How should he test this? This was the realization he got. The boy with a trembling voice said, "Status window," but nothing happened. The boy's mood immediately became sour. He mumbled, "If it is not a status window, then what is it? Why does it look like a part-time job notice?" At this moment many windows appeared in front of him, taking him by surprise. The boy, seeing this, laughed sarcastically and said, "So, in reality, all I could do was a part-time job, and even right now it is all about part-time jobs." But suddenly the boy thought, he had nothing to lose anyway, so why not take this as an opportunity and check out what it is? The screen in front of him was loading the part-time job list. As he clicked the OK sign, he was shown a prompt which said, "You lack divine power." The boy was confused as what divine power was. The floating window then showed the explanation. Divine power was energy used by the gods. The boy sighed and mumbled, "Of course, I have no such thing. I don't even have a talent." The boy then thought, "But this doesn't feel like a dangerous thing. Who knows, this might be my life's turning point. Yes, I should just try this." God's part-time job post. I think this is something like an app for finding jobs. At this moment, while scrolling through the screen, he found a part-time job that didn't require any divine power. As he clicked on the part-time job, he saw that it was a job in urgent need of manpower for creating a dungeon. At this moment did he realize that it said dungeons weren't those full of monsters. The boy's face was full of sweat because he realized something. Dungeons were made by gods. Should I believe this? He then checked how much money would he receive for this job. Seeing the currency as 12 Thor, he felt confused as he could not understand what this currency was. Maybe it was the currency of the gods, then it might be worth a lot. He thinks of giving this a try and clicks on the accept button. As soon as he clicks on the button, he is showered by blue lightning and soon disappears from his house. In another part of the universe, the lightning strikes on a tree, splitting it in half. From within it emerged a boy. The boy coughed as he stepped out. He was not in good condition. It was not that he was injured, it was just that he was tired. As the boy sees the scenery in front of him, he becomes shocked. He had never seen a place like this. Was he dreaming? At this moment there was someone had sneaked from behind the boy. It was a beast and it directly attacked him. As the boy saw death coming closer to him, he could only do what a normal human does. He closed his eyes and put his hand in defensive position. But the attack never reached him as someone grabbed the beast by its neck and dragged it back. The boy slowly opened his eyes only to be amazed. In front of him stood a towering man with body made up of muscles. Surrounding him were wisps of lightning. He had grabbed the beast by its neck and laughed. Suddenly he noticed the boy and said, "A new worker." At this moment the coldness disappeared from his face as he smiled and introduced himself. "Nice to meet you. I am Odin's son, the god of thunder, Thor." He then patted the boy and said, "I'm sure you know me as I am famous, haha." The man then grabbed the boy and took him with him. As the boy traveled in the arms of the god of thunder, he thought, massive body with a huge mustache, and that hammer is probably Mjolnir. He is Thor? Is this real? At this moment Thor spoke, "Judging by your appearance you must be a god from Asia." The boy was surprised and blurted out, "What?" The boy then thought, was it normal for him to see me as a god? As the boy was being carried he saw many workers and they were an expert in doing their work. They had tremendous power, so one thing was clear, they must be gods from other dimensions, but none of them were humans. He was the only human here. The boy smiled awkwardly and replied, "Yes, I just came from a small mountain." Thor patted him and said while laughing, "Oh, so you are the god of mountains. I have heard about it. I heard you help people who are in danger. That's good." The light pat on the boy's back felt like a meteor strike. It almost broke his spinal cord. At this moment Thor looked at his clothes and said with suspicion, "By the way, I feel like you are deeply immersed in human culture." The boy got the scare of his life. He then laughed and replied, "I went down there a lot to learn about humans' needs." Thor nodded and smiled, then said, "You must cherish humans a lot." He then suddenly asks the boy in a serious tone, "Are you sure you can do this? Your job is to make a place to make humans suffer." The boy had sweat all over his body as he replied while stuttering, "Yes, of course I can." Thor continued walking and asked, "Have you heard about the Minotaur's maze?" The boy nodded and replied, "I have, but why?" Thor smiled and said, "Then this would be easy." The boy turned and looked in the direction where Thor was looking. His eyes were blinded by the sight that greeted him. Thor pointed towards the structure in front of them and said, "That is the concept for this dungeon." He then looked at the boy and said, "And you will be building a maze with us?" That's all for this video. If you want a part 2 then do comment below, I'll try to make one. Also, I am sorry for not being able to upload anything for the past month as I was very busy with my office work.